In 1943, inside a quiet building deep in occupied Europe, a British agent sat handcuffed to a chair. His pockets were empty. His belt was gone. His shoes had been checked again and again. German guards had searched him carefully, the way they always did. They believed he was completely helpless. They were wrong. Hidden inside the lining of his jacket lapel was a blade so small it weighed almost nothing. A blade meant for one purpose only: to give a captured agent one last chance. This video reveals the story of the tiny British lapel knife, the smallest weapon of the Second World War, and why it terrified interrogators who never even knew it existed. Watch this video till the end, because this weapon was not designed to win battles, but to turn the most hopeless moment into a violent break for survival. During the Second World War, Britain faced a problem unlike any before. The enemy controlled much of Europe. Armies could not move freely. Traditional weapons were often useless behind enemy lines. To fight back, Britain created a secret force designed to operate in the shadows. These men and women were dropped into occupied territory to sabotage railways, destroy factories, organize resistance, and gather intelligence. Their missions were dangerous, lonely, and often fatal. These agents carried pistols, radios, and explosives. They used hidden weapons, false papers, and coded messages. But there was one moment every agent feared more than any firefight: capture. Once captured, everything was taken away. Weapons were confiscated, equipment was stripped, clothing was searched down to the smallest detail. German security forces were experts at this. They knew where to look. They checked shoes, belts, collars, seams, and pockets. They believed no weapon could survive such a search. After capture came interrogation. This was not questioning as most people imagine it. It was systematic pressure designed to break a person completely. Sleep was denied. Beatings were common. Psychological pressure never stopped. The goal was simple: extract names, safe houses, radio codes. Entire networks could be destroyed by a single broken agent. Most prisoners never escaped. A handcuffed agent in a guarded room inside enemy headquarters had no real options. Guards were armed. Doors were locked. The building was full of enemies. Escape was almost impossible. British planners understood this reality, and they asked a dark question: what if an agent could still fight back, even after everything had been taken away? What if there was one final option? A weapon so small it could not be found. A weapon so hidden it became part of the clothing itself. To solve this problem, Britain turned to men who had studied violence up close. One of them had spent decades in some of the most dangerous streets in the world. He had survived knife fights, ambushes, and riots. He understood exactly how quickly life could end at close range. Together with his partner, he had already designed a famous fighting knife used by commandos. But that blade was too large, too obvious. It would never survive a full search, so they went smaller, much smaller. The result was the lapel knife, a blade barely longer than a finger. No handle in the traditional sense, just enough metal to grip between thumb and finger. Some versions were double-edged, others had a single edge, sharpened for deep thrusts. The entire weapon was short, thin, and incredibly light. It could disappear completely once sewn into clothing. The true genius of the design was the sheath. Instead of being worn on the body, it was stitched directly into garments. Inside a jacket lapel, inside a shirt collar, inside a coat lining, even inside trouser seams. Once sewn in, the knife became part of the clothing. A guard could search for hours and never notice it. Some versions included a thin cord loop. When the blade was pulled free, the cord wrapped around a finger, making sure it could not be dropped or knocked away. This mattered because the weapon was meant for one sudden movement, not a prolonged fight. There were several versions. The most common was the lapel knife itself, hidden near the chest. Another version was longer and hidden in sleeves. One of the most extreme designs was hidden inside a shoe, concealed beneath the insole and pulled free using a hidden string. All were finished in dark colors to avoid reflection. Agents were trained carefully in how to use these tiny weapons. Training schools taught that the lapel knife was not for combat. It was for disruption. One strike, one moment. The goal was not victory. The goal was chaos. Instructors showed agents the most vulnerable parts of the human body, not in a dramatic way, but clinically. They explained where arteries ran close to the skin. They explained how quickly a person could collapse if those vessels were damaged. Charts were used to show timing, though later experts admitted these numbers were optimistic. The real purpose of the training was not medical accuracy. it was confidence. Agents needed to believe that even when captured, they were not completely powerless. That belief mattered more than anything else. The intended situation was terrifyingly specific. An agent is restrained during questioning, hands cuffed, but still able to move slightly. A guard stands close. The agent reaches toward their collar, appearing to adjust clothing. The guard sees nothing unusual. In one sudden motion, the blade is freed. A strike follows, not to win the fight, but to create confusion, to force the guard back, to open a second or two of opportunity. In a building full of enemies, seconds were everything. History becomes frustrating at this point. Despite years of research, no confirmed case exists of an agent killing an interrogator using a lapel knife. Many files were destroyed. Many stories were never recorded. This absence does not mean the weapon failed. It means it was designed for a situation so extreme that survival itself was unlikely. There are documented cases of captured agents fighting back with improvised weapons, broken bottles, tools, bare hands. These acts often ended in death, but they showed the mindset of people who refused to submit quietly. The lapel knife fit this mindset perfectly. What made the weapon unique was not its size, but its philosophy. Britain accepted that some missions would fail, some agents would be captured, and in those moments, the goal was not comfort, it was dignity and resistance. The lapel knife also influenced other forces. When American intelligence services were created later in the war, they adopted many British designs, including concealed blades. The idea that a captured agent should never be completely unarmed became part of covert doctrine. The weapon represents a darker side of wartime engineering. It was not meant for glory. It was not meant for hero stories. It was insurance, something you hope you never need, but cannot afford to be without. Tailors played a critical role. Clothing had to look local. Stitching had to match continental styles. A single wrong detail could expose an agent. The knife had to disappear completely into the garment. Once sewn in, it was invisible. Today, original lapel knives are extremely rare. Museums hold a few examples. Private collections claim others, though many are reproductions. The weapon that was designed to remain unseen has almost vanished from history. Yet its meaning remains powerful. In a war where capture meant torture and death, Britain gave its agents one final choice, one last chance to act, even when stripped of everything else. The lapel knife was never about guaranteed escape. It was about refusing helplessness. It was about turning fear into action, even for a moment. In the darkest rooms of occupied Europe, when hope was gone and chains were tight, a tiny blade hidden in a jacket lapel represented something the enemy could never fully take away. The possibility, however small, of fighting back. That was the purpose of the lapel knife, and that is why it remains one of the most disturbing and fascinating weapons ever created. If you found this story powerful, share your thoughts in the comments. And if you want more deep documentaries uncovering hidden weapons and forgotten stories of the war, support this video and stay connected for what comes next.